I was actually walking my dog the other day, and it was almost like a game of Monopoly. There was kind of 3 different properties really close to each other, like same street, different people selling them, but like 2 on one side, 1 on the other. And I was like, what does this mean? Like, I was trying to analyze, what does this mean for the street? So one side of my brain said, this means someone really bad has moved into the street and everybody wants out. But then the other side of it was like, someone else has sold, they've got a good price, it's worked out that, oh, maybe we can pounce on this. Can you talk to this? Because I want to know which side of my brain was right.
Going once, going twice, sold. You're listening to The Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to The Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and it gives me great pleasure to be joined once again by both team members here at 414, John McGregor and Patrick Berry. How are we, guys?
Fantastic. Glad to be back.
Glad to be back. Yes. Well, what we wanted to drop was you've been away for a little while. People of the pod might not know, but you have been out of the country, which is pretty rare. It's been a while since one of us has been out of the country, but you've been out
John
and about.
was the first to be brave enough to travel overseas,
and to the same country, no doubt.
Yeah, it was too, which is even weirder.
Actually, very, very true. All right, boys, hit us with your Philippines stories.
Well, for people that don't know, we actually have 4 employees in the Philippines, and myself and Abby actually headed over to do some training and some team bonding with them. So it's been a great experience.
Yeah, no, look, since you've come back, it's been amazing just kind of interacting with the crew from the Philippines who have been kind of just saying like, oh, we had the best time, rah, rah, rah. Yeah. Can you run us through kind of the ins and outs of the whole event and like the whole shebang, basically?
Yeah, sure. So we, like I said, we have 4 employees in the Philippines, 2 that work in our rental team, and 2 that work in our marketing and, photography team aspect side of things.
Yep.
And I guess what we wanted to do is really just head over and spend some time with them and, do a bit of training and get to know them a little bit better so that they felt a little bit more part of our team here in our office.
Yes, for sure.
So, yeah. Abby and I, we took the plunge and headed over to Clark, which is sort of just north of Manila.
Yep.
That's where their office is, or where we hire space for them to work out of. And had 4 great days just sitting there going through different training opportunities and learning new things about each other and really having fun, I guess, trying to understand the differences between Philippines and Australia.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing we probably learned is the language.
Well, see, I love this. Yeah. I love this idea that you told me when you got back of whenever we'd use slang terms when kind of just chatting with them via, Teams or any of the things, we'd say a slang term and they'd be going, and rather than checking what it is, they'd be Google searching like,
to find out what
does cobber mean?
You smashed it today, guys. Yeah. What did we break?
What do you mean? What were they breaking?
Yeah.
Where we would mean, great job.
Yeah, exactly.
But then what Abby and I also learned when we were talking about, how we communicate in Australia is actually quite a lazy language.
Yeah.
I was trying to explain to our team that we will take any opportunity to shorten a word.
Hell yeah, it's lousy way.
And the other thing with the Australian accent too versus because the Philippines, they, learn the American English. So you'll hear them, they're very accentuated in their
you sound like Tara, who was on last week.
Right?
Wait for Texas Man to come out and John in a moment.
And then
there ain't no price that can't fix a price.
There's no price that can fix a price.
There's no cure for a price. The price cannot price cure. They're like, no, that's not it.
I think I was closer.
Anyway, moving on.
Well, we can't say it. We might as well keep marking it up. Then you take the Australian language and then Tasmanian even more, because the Tasmanian accent is like we don't even pronounce our L's, so it's like school. There's not school. So even then it gets.
I didn't know this one.
Me neither. We're all learning.
But then I've found too, when you're chatting with them, if you're speaking fast as we often do, and then all their words like molded into one, you can just see this blank look in their face while they're like, "What?"
So I know
What did you say?
I know you mentioned, Pat, like as you were there, that the English that was kind of being discussed in the office was kind of a half hybrid of it's easier than translating.
Yeah, so
but this was just even amongst
my
the
team,
staff
I don't know
members.
if you've experienced it, but they'll speak half English, half Filipino.
Yes. Yeah.
And certain words is easier to use English than it is to use Filipino. So they have a
dance
blend
between the two languages. Yeah, which is really cool.
And I didn't notice it for the first day, but then Ren's pointed it out on the second day when we were on a bus heading off. And after that, I couldn't stop hearing it everywhere I went. I was like, oh, yeah, they are.
There's just all these little English words just popping
Yeah.
in, you weren't even really noticing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you realise that I kind of can guess what this conversation's about based on the 4 words I can hear. So it was an awesome experience. So our team, if they're listening, you guys are amazing. You do a fantastic job for us. And yeah, it was just a really good opportunity to better understand a bit more of their culture and, you know, what they do each day for work. And I guess also allowing us to give them a bit more guidance as to what we need out of them as well for the jobs here in Australia they do for us.
Well, I know when you were chatting about it and you just found that how quickly you could move to solutions so much faster than it was just even with a Skype call.
Yeah.
And then, you know, basically seeing it from their perspective too, that what we couldn't see that they were learning.
Skype call, what are we? Year 2001, John?
No, I'm going back to like the telephones with a screen on it. Now you should dial up.
This is the guy who started real estate when carrier pigeons were still a thing. There's electronic mails on the way.
Even they were passing on the message. There ain't a problem in real estate. The price cannot cure it.
He got it in there.
He got there in the end.
I purposely stuffed it.
Sure. Speaking of exciting things in real estate, you've got some really interesting listings going on at the moment. Like we've been out shooting some really unique properties. Like yesterday we had a bit of fun with it. You were down Dodgers Ferry. Do you want to talk through some of your listings at the moment? Just kind of, I don't know, let's free advertising for a few of your listings.
I think one of the things that's been exciting for me is to actually really start re-engaging with video marketing and being a lot more creative about it again. I mean, many years ago, remember when we first started doing video marketing, Pat, like you would hire actors to, you know, try and sell this house like a high rise in Hobart, and we were, you know, doing all crazy stuff before, but that sort of went by the wayside as you just sort of, you know, grow tired of ideas, I guess. But one thing the one that we've got that we started at Dodgers Ferry, and it's really exciting because the owners had spent all this time. It's at 7 and 5th Avenue. Is that I said to the owners, look, guys, if you could make this feel like an Airbnb property's advertised, it'll be amazing. And hats off to them. They absolutely work their butts off. And now with that, when you walk into the home and when we did the video, we, I perched up on the bench and just because I said to him, look, what's probably your favorite position in this house? And he said, right here on the bench, because what their favorite memories is in this little galley kitchen is that either one of them would be taking their turns to be, you know, washing or preparing the meals while the other one's just sipping coffee.
Yeah.
And throughout this whole house, there's every little spot's perfect for entertaining. And when we were creating the marketing material, we geared it to show that it's obviously a Dodgers Ferry shack, but it's now a home.
Oh, man, it's almost just jumping in. It's almost like a TARDIS because from the outside, you're like, oh, yep, stock standard shack. Like that's a Dodgers Ferry shack that's been here for a while. Someone's built it and lived it as a shack. But as soon as you open that front door, it's, you know, this styled beautifully, like the hanging doors and like walk-in robes in a shack and all these crazy features that you're just like, oh, I did not anticipate that.
That's the thing is like it's got all the things that you want to make the quality of life for your home better, but that never happens in a shack. So then of course they've coupled it with obviously we've priced it well. So the second we went live, we already had people ready to inspect anyway. But straight away there was, you know, three inquiries of people wanting to get in beforehand. And there's a couple for sale on the street already. They had 2 open homes and they're re-advertising their open homes because obviously they're unsuccessful. And we're really excited because it seems because all those people that we know there was one couple that called us and said, look, we've been waiting for like over a year for something like this to come along because in Dodgers Ferry, you've got these different price brackets where 500 to 600, you've got these shacks sort of converted.
Yep.
And then it jumps into new homes at sort of 657 plus. And then you've got the incredible properties that, you know, it's selling well in excess of $1 million. So this one just with all the work that they invested to make it feel like it's just something you just want to come home and never leave, has just, has transformed into an amazing property that's going to get, look, in the end, we can tell that's going to get a hell of a lot of activity, which is fun.
I've stayed in a lot of Airbnbs around the world, John, and you said it had walk-in wardrobes. They could double as bedrooms in some of the Airbnbs I've stayed in. So, depending how you want to get creative, you might have 5 or 6 bedrooms you can work with in this place.
Yeah.
When you've thrown out there that there's a few others in the street, we didn't talk about that. We talk about this, but I was actually walking my dog the other day, and it was almost like a game of Monopoly. There was kind of 3 different properties really close to each other, like same street, different people selling them, but like 2 on one side, 1 on the other. And I was like, what does this mean? Like I was trying to analyze, what does this mean for the street? So one side of my brain said, this means someone really bad has moved into the street
Yes.
and everybody wants out.
Yep.
But then the other side of it was like, someone else has sold, they've got a good price, it's worked out that, oh, maybe we can pounce on this. Can you talk to this? Because I want to know which side of my brain was right.
I love this because Paringa, we've got 2 in the street for sale at the moment.
Yep.
Christmas have got 1, and we also sold 1 in the street recently.
And there was another agent that sold one of the very bottom end.
So
of
that's
that
5 in the one street that have all sold within 3 to 4 month period.
And another one in Glenorchy was Victor Place. Like we started it with 2 properties, and then there was 3 other properties that come up, another like 4 or 5 within 6 months of each other.
All right. So
Yeah.
did bad people move in and it made people want to move out, or was it the other side? Like what would be the
actually
reason why there's a max exodus from a street or a max influx of houses for sale?
I think you always find that if one house has a really good, successful outcome, it tends to make other people start to think. Like, it's the reason why a lot of our agents in the office do the just sold brochures. I just sold this house for 50,000 more than what the owner wanted.
Yep.
And then, owner gets that in their letterbox, and then that just starts the thinking process. All of a sudden, you're on realestate.com. Well, if they sold that for that, my house has got to be this.
Yep, for sure.
And it's like, well, now I can get that. That means I can get this.
Yeah, so I think 9 times out of 10, it's probably the result of someone successfully having a good result in the street and that triggering other people to realise they could do the same. However, I would assume as well sometimes.
At some stages, one side of my brain was right for a little bit of it. Like it was, if you kind of hear some chainsaws going off or
And
something.
I reckon if you're a purchaser buying in that street and you've got that concern, you can probably tell just by looking down the street and seeing how it's presented.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if you go down the street and say it's manicured lawn, 6 trucks
Nightmare.
and a pile of rubbish, manicured lawn, maybe that house is the one that everyone's trying to get away from.
This throws me onto another tangent because I'm not looking to sell, but down my street, there's basically manicured lawn. And then there's
you're non-manicured.
No, I'm the guy. I'm okay.
That's where you're going.
But there is a guy who, look, he has been working on his garden. But look, here's an example of it. You know the Fogo bins that the council gave you?
Yep.
That's his letterbox.
Oh, you're joking.
So he uses that as his letterbox, just as an example. He does walk down the street. He's a really nice guy. The other day, everybody was out mowing the lawns. Like it was spring, nice day. Everyone's mowing along the things. Even we took Jack along the road for a bike ride and he's like, oh, Daddy, everybody mow. I'm like, yeah, they're going for it, mate. And we looked over and we're like, wish that guy would mow. Yeah. But, okay, consider I'm going to sell. In my brain, I'm like, would it be rude to go up to old mate's house and just say, hey, copper, do you reckon I could mow your lawn?
No, honestly, we've done it. We've paid where it's been a neighbour that's a real nightmare. Is that we've paid them $50 just look, could you just disappear for 1 hour while we do these showings, and then they go away and they come back and it's no issue. But we've done it. You pay them money, no one cares. So long as you can show, so long as there's something in it for them, or they don't want to do the work. And we had one at Warrain recently where the tenants were lovely, but they just the lawn was a nightmare. So our owners went over and did it for them.
Yeah.
Like,
I
"Thank
love
you."
that you've just openly admitted to bribing someone to leave so you can manipulate someone else to buy a house in the street.
This is the
And that is why car salesmen sit above us, John.
We've been asked to present the property at its best. And it's just if that means that person is not there.
Is this going to come up in the Mercury? Southern president of the REIT admits to bribery.
It's not even bribery. It's just asking for a favour.
No, I see what you're saying, John. You're like, at the end of the day, well, your guy's a great example. He's a harmless, perfect person, but maybe he just doesn't have the time to get around to do his lawns.
Oh yeah, look, and it's literally that idea. Like, it's not really going to change my house, but if someone was driving along and looked down the street, and your examples of, oh, maybe this street isn't as good as I thought it was. Like,
Tidy it up.
tidy it up, and be the best house on the worst street, or whatever the worst street on the best house.
I always hate that everyone thinks that tenants don't have time to maintain properties as well. And like, oh, it's a tenant, they don't look after it. I've recently become a tenant, and I think it's a curse. My lawn is up to my knee. It's always too wet to go ahead and do it. And I'm like, I feel sorry for these tenants now because I'm one of them, and I'm exactly the same.
It could have something to do that you're in the Philippines. The following weekend you were doing BMX.
No.
But I would say it's daylight
It's always
savings.
too wet, you can't mow the lawn.
If you rent your home, your lawn's like growing 25% faster. That's the rule.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
Well, I don't understand it. It just grows and you can't control it. So it's a tenant. It's impossible, John.
All right, that gives me a good segue onto the last thing I want to talk about. So speaking of things growing at a exponential rate, it seems like the interest rate rises are still coming. We're anticipating maybe one more this year, I think, is kind of the vibe.
Seems to be the case.
It seems that investors maybe have kind of just moved aside in the market. It's opened up to first home buyers. Is that kind of why some of your more unique properties are coming up, in that it's kind of targeted at not your investor but kind of home occupiers?
Well, maybe the example with the few old houses that are all the same are coming up and waiting a little bit longer might be a bit more of a tell, because there's a property we've got coming up that's going to be we've got a contract at 650, but there's another buyer at the time, because this is an off-market opportunity. They were looking at interest around about 630 and 640, and this was his first home. And then all of a sudden, like in between being able to get the stuff organised, at another big hike, and he had to get refinance again, and his position changed that he couldn't offer no more than 600.
Yep.
So what we've seen with these interest rates then is those that really don't have huge deposits, available to them, as it's really had a real impact on their actual borrowing capacity, because just the repayments have risen.
Yeah.
Banks won't give them as much money. And especially in our markets with Glenorchy, where you've got the average price, say, ranging between 500,000 and 600,000. That's the pocket of people who have the 5 and 10% deposits, where it's really had a huge impact on their capacity to borrow. And what with that then is that for the investors as well, that it might have otherwise been excited by a general residential home that's still got a bit of potential, or the first home buyer at the same, they're looking at those in a very different way now, because I've still got to do all the little renovations I need to do to bring it up to a standard, and it's cost me twice as much to hold than it once did. So with the reason why we want our clients to go, we need more than ever to present your property at its absolute finest, so that people can know that they don't have nothing else to invest in that property to enjoy it. And where even our clients with that video where I was running down the street yesterday, it took us 4 hours to film this damn thing.
Man, I got sunburnt. I got home and Sarah was like, "Oh, the top of your head looks a bit shiny," and I said, "Oh, well, John was putting sunscreen on, but I was silly not to."
Well, even with
all I could imagine then, John was putting sunscreen on you. He was putting it on me. I don't know why I'm sunburnt.
But because we needed them to spend the time painting in the floors and the kitchen, because it's a huge home that's getting listed. And at the same token, too, had we gone to market in its state where it was, it would have been a really hard time for us to move on the market, because of everyone a little bit more cautious about what they're going to be paying, because the fear of missing out's gone. And they're mindful that, okay, if I pay a premium and I've still got more to invest, well, it's going to affect me in a much larger way than it did, 18 months ago.
Well, finishing up, just to try wrap up on this, what I was thinking was your point there about people wanting to buy homes that are done, finished, ready to go. Some people out there in the current, circumstances with the way cost of living is so expensive would probably struggle to do some of that work.
Of course.
It's probably worth noting as well, if you are one of those people that you do know that you've got to spend a little bit of money to paint it out or put some new carpet in or whatever it may be, we can help as well through our campaign agent service.
Yeah.
So we can actually help you guys with up to $25,000 for renovation work, so that you can get the home ready for sale on an interest-free loan from our suppliers at Campaign Agent. So, if you're out there and you're thinking, well, that's all good, John, but I don't have the money to spend, maybe we can help with that as well to help get the house ready.
And it's always that's enough. Like, it always ends up being enough for your average home. Like, to get that done, you can wrap it up between 10 and 20, and you reduce your time market. You get the high price. You've got a much larger pool of interest, and that goes for any market. So that's why it's really cool to be able to offer that.
Yeah.
No, I love that. That's actually really cool. The only thing I'm disappointed about the place yesterday was once we left, Aaron told me that this was the infamous house that had the stripper pole in it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was removed. And I was just like, what are we doing running down the street when this house used to have a stripper pole?
Well, I just wonder that if it was still there, would have our whole marketing idea just completely changed?
Oh, yeah.
And so then I would have been running in high heels, and that would have been even worse.
Speaking of hiring actors, we could have got Caitlin Delaney at a pole fitness thing. That would she could have come and put a class on for you, the two of
It
you.
would have been amazing.
Yeah. So look, mate. Next time you've got a pole before it's removed, just let the media team know.
Yeah, just quick heads up. Quick heads up.
Awesome. Well, Pat, so good to have you back. Welcome back into the office. I know you had a great time over there, and very appreciative from the staff over there, Nino, Daryl, Renz, and Queen. Seemed to have a blast.
Was good fun.
I know before going there, they were worried about meeting their Aussie bosses, but afterwards they were like, "Oh no, we're fine."
Did they take you for a karaoke session?
No, but we had some interesting food and drink, so I'll fill in on that later, John.
Sweet.
Awesome, guys. Thanks, John. Good luck with your listings upcoming with their uniqueness, and we will all be back next week with more Property Pod.
Cool.
See you guys.
Awesome. Bye. You have been listening to the Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.